Hey, my friend Kenny Chapman here, the host of Leadership in a Nutshell. Today we're talking about episode 22, Delegation Clarity. I'm super pumped that you're with me. This is a massive topic. I'm so grateful for our listeners. I'm grateful for our watchers. I'm grateful for our clients, our followers, our friends, because this topic was suggested when we reached out and said, hey, what do you want to hear about? And one of our good clients said, let's talk about delegation. So let's be clear. This could be a 9-part, a 9-month, a 9-week, a 90-day series, right? But today I really want to focus on delegation clarity. Everything begins with clarity. That's the first dimension of change in the new book I just wrote, The 6 Dimensions of Change 2.0, kennychapman.com. You can get that. This isn't a book sales day, though. Here's what we want you to think about. Delegation clarity. Why do you want to delegate? What are the things you want to delegate? How's it going to change, improve, shift your life, shift your mindset, some of those types of things. We're going to dive in. Let's do this right now. Episode 22. Now, I want you to think about, what can you really accomplish in your life? What can you really do? One of my mentors taught me early on, I love the saying, it's like, I can do anything on the planet. I can do anything in the world as long as I don't have to do it, as long as I'm not the one that has to do it. And you go, well, wait a minute, Kenny, isn't that the same thing? No, I can get a lot of things done that I don't actually have to touch, have to be involved in, have to work through all the complexity, the challenge, all those things. Now, I'm not talking about delegating to, offload onto somebody else or bury somebody else with a challenging situation. I am talking about the opportunity to work in my unique ability more and allow others to work in their unique ability. There are some things that I absolutely cannot love at all. I can't do it. I don't love it. I actually despise it. There are people that absolutely love those types of things. So what about this? When you're doing something you don't love to do, what if you're robbing somebody on the planet from doing what they truly want to do? And you go, no, you don't understand, Kenny. Nobody wants to do some of these things. And we go, okay, well, I'll give you that. However, I want to talk to you about 4 different things in delegation, because delegation will set you free. But it all begins with your mindset. This is leadership in a nutshell. So we're just giving you a quick snapshot, a few things. And I'm going to tell you right now, your mindset needs to shift around delegation. You cannot be all things to all people. Here's a big surprise. You are not the best at everything that you do. You've got to take a step back. You've got to look at yourself. You got to look at where are you really, really good, and how do you want to implement those things into your daily life more often. When I think about freedom, one of the number one values I have in life is freedom. And it's impossible for me to execute that value if I'm not getting things off of my plate. I can't scale businesses. I can't scale income. I can't scale wealth. I can't scale a lot of things in life if I have to be involved in every single thing. And with that comes fear. However, the flip side of that is freedom, right? When we think about how this shows up early in my career, well, not early, I guess I'd already been at it for 13 years, and I took 94 to 07. It was 2007. I took a 6-month motorhome trip, took away from my brick and mortar service business, and I went and traveled around the country, and I spoke about once a month or so. And here's the reality. Most of my mentors said, you're crazy, Kenny. You can't do it. Your business isn't big enough. You don't have a strong enough team. It's not time. You can't. And I said, you know what? You might be right, but here's what I know. I'm going to learn, and I'm going to find areas, and I'm going to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, because here's what I know. I'm not doing it for the day-to-day operation. I was doing it in order to get people improved in their own unique situation, so ultimately I could get to where I am today and doing what I love to do, which is being on here with you right now and being able to share a few things and challenge your mindset a little bit, right, as we get the opportunity to walk through that. So, many people struggle in delegation, and my mentors, they had a hard time with that. Did I find holes in the business? Sure I did. Did the business crash and burn? No, it did not. As a matter of fact, a little ego hit. I had one of my greatest years ever. And so it's kind of an interesting thing when you go, well, wait a minute. What if this could exist without me? What if there are some tasks that could happen without me? And so many of you on the line are telling yourself Therefore, you're telling me right now, yeah, I want to delegate, Kenny. I'm going to challenge you, because when I left for that 6-month trip, many people said, oh, I don't, I want to operate like that, man. I was speaking around the country, and people would come and see the big coach in the parking lot of the event, go, man, I want to live like this. My wife and I want to travel. My husband and I want to travel. We want to do this. And I would say, oh, no, you don't. They would go, what do you mean? Now, yeah, we do. And I would say, no, you really don't. Well, what do you mean by that? You don't want to operate this way, because here's the deal. Delegation is tied to identity. Write that down, perhaps. Delegation is tied to identity, meaning that the things that I don't delegate, I have identity around. I get tired. I can't have the Kenny Chapman Leadership in a Nutshell podcast and I'm never on here, right? In the future, we may have guests, and we might have other people come in and guest interviews and do some different things with me. But this is around me. Therefore, my identity is tied to the Leadership in the Nutshell podcast. However, when you look at the businesses that you're operating in, what you're doing, what you're keeping on the plate gives you identity. When I took that 6-month trip, I got identity from the fact that I didn't have to be in the building all day, every day. That I was able to walk out of those doors and not walk back through the doors for 6.5 months and run a very successful business during that period of time. That gave me identity. There were thousands of decisions, tens of thousands of decisions that were made every single day, week, or month I was gone, I wasn't involved in. That challenges you, and that is why you struggle with delegation. Let's look at this a little bit. When you think about action items, I want to leave you with 4 major action items. We're talking about delegation clarity today. This isn't the entire process. Yes, we've got ways we can dive in deeper. We've got areas we can go a little bit stronger in. Love to hear from you. Reach out, hit us in the contact us on my website if you want to learn more or understand more about delegation. But today I want to just snapshot 4 components of clarity around this. Number 1, get clarity around who. Who before how, but after why is one of the things I love to beat a drum on right now. Your who's are incredibly important. Who you surround yourself with, who's running your business, who you're delegating to. Who is it that you want to hand this task off to, right? First of all, you've got to identify that. You can't just go, I don't want to do this anymore. Somebody else figure it out. That's a sure way to set yourself up for failure. You want to set yourself up for success, and that looks like, okay, who on my org chart, who in my company, who in my business would be the best person, the best role, the best situation to take this off of my plate and get this done. Number 1, you start with 2. Then number 2, we go to the how and the why. Who before how, but after why. So now we think about, well, wait a minute, you say after why, but now you're talking about why. Why has to go through all the way, all through it, right? So there's a reason why you want to delegate this. Now I want to bring it back to your forefront. How are you going to go about it? And why are you going about it in that way? You've got a why before. You're like, I don't want to do this. I'm not the best to do this. Someone else is better suited. It takes my energy away. We have stop doing lists that are more important than start doing lists in some of the academies that we teach. You know, in my life architecture program where I work one-on-one with high-level business leaders just like you to help you get out of your way, we stop doing a lot of things that you're doing. And some things, guess what, don't even get delegated when you really take a step back and think about it. So I want you to be mindful of, first of all, who are you going to delegate to? And then how are you going to go about it and why? Why did you choose them? Why are you going to go about it in this manner? Very important to have clarity around those. The next thing, we've got to make sure that you identify what is the clarity around the necessary growth. What is the necessary education? If you're handing something off to somebody, do they already have the skills? And even if you think that they might, that might be an inaccurate assumption on your part. They might need some more training. They might need a little different skill set. They might need some more education. They might need to go to a course. They might need to download some information. Whatever it is, they might need more of your own specific training. Whatever it is, what do they need from an education standpoint, from a learning standpoint, and able to execute effectively? Notice, I said execute effectively. I did not say execute the the way you would execute. Now, did I? I said execute effectively. They can be very effective doing it a little different than you did, but it's super important that you find out exactly what they need to know, what they need to learn, where they need to grow in order to implement this effectively. You got to have clarity around that. Last component of clarity here, you've got to be clear about a timeline. You have got to set some dates, some times. When will you be handing this off? If you don't set a date on yourself, it's not going to happen. If you don't set a date for your who, of how you're, when you're going to hand this off so they get ready, will you identify what the education is? You identify how and why you're going to go about it. And then we get a timeline. Number one, when am I going to actually hand it off? What is the quote unquote ride along process? It could be a ride along if you have a field-based business. It could be a desk along if you're in the business of, inside. If you're in, I'm in coaching and training. We do Skype alongs, if you will, or video alongs, right? And we have coaches and trainers sit in with other coaches and trainers to make sure that what we're coaching and training on is being, the message is being congruent with who we are and how we stand before we can delegate and have a coach stand on their own full-time coaching clients in the manner that we want in order for them to be certified, right? So what is that timeline? How are you going to check in? How are you going to know? When are you going to revisit this process? Delegation begins with clarity. That's what today is all about. Episode 22, my friend. Who are you going to delegate to? How and why? What are the resources, the education, the additional information they need to know? And then what is the timeline going to be? That is a great place for you to get started. Thank you so much for being here with listening. Please do us a favor. Make sure you're subscribed. Obviously, we'd love for you to rate us and give us some ratings and reviews, but make sure you subscribe. And maybe equally as important to that, share this with somebody. We're getting such tremendous feedback from all of you, and we love our community so much. Make sure you go ahead and share this with somebody like you that might get some value. Then you can have some conversations off the cuff after we have this time together. I'm Kenny Chapman, your host of Leadership in a Nutshell. This has been episode number 22, where we're talking about delegation clarity. Until we talk, my friend, make it a better than fantastic day. See you real soon.